Hey, Space Watchers, and welcome to our Space Nugget of the Week, where we analyze the most important news of the week for you. This week, our format is a bit different as Emma and I are here in Paris at the World Space Business Week, the top level and most important European conference in the area of space business. But of course, the top week's news were the new EU Commissioner Andrius Kubilius at DG Davis for Industry and Defense, but we will talk about him definitely in another nugget. Back to Paris. This week merged three events: finance, defense and Earth observation, all with a very, very strong business focus. Let's unmantle that a bit and go summit by summit. Emma, let us know about the first days with the summit of space finance. What is your view on that?
So good morning everyone, thank you Torsten. Traditionally the first 2 days of the World Space Business Week are always focused on the satellite communication sector, so it's the most active part of the conference in my opinion. Nathan de Ruyter, traditionally from Nova Space, opens the stage with a sort of data review of this year in numbers and a projection of where the sector will go in the next 10 years. So this year in a sort of way confirmed what other reports pointed out during the year. We're still going to have a growth of the satellite communication sector. The number that they provided is a growth to 117 billion in the next by 2033, so in 10 years time, with a dominant predominance of the fixed broadband market. It still will dominate up to 70% of the market. They see a sort of inflection or decrease in the video sector, again something that we knew was happening, so the satellite TV business is not going to grow so fast because of all what we have, Netflix, streaming platform, etc. So that was kind of interesting. It's interesting to understand how bankers and investors will react to these trends. There have been some discussion here about the bankers have been interviewed. What they say is more or less confirming an impression that we already had, the fact that the sector needs stabilization, needs a consolidation. There's been a massive growth, there have been a lot of startups, a lot of growing, a lot of fast growing, but now what we will observe in the near future is the big companies, some of them will probably merge, and the medium and small companies and startups, several of them we probably will not see the next decade, and maybe also some of the big ones will disappear, who knows?
Well, as a few news hit this week as well, The Wire, and we will follow up that as well.
So the introduction, one of the interesting news of the conference this year is that they introduced a 2 days defense and security summit within the 5 days of the the World Space Business Week. So Torsten was there. What did you find out?
That event was called the SDSS.
Sorry,
so they love the abbreviation. What is the Space Defense and Security Summit? So, but I'm happy to take it over. So this event took place in walking distance from here in the Paris Automobile Club near the Place de Concorde. Very cool, very old, posh building, very nice environment, like everything here we have seen in the first arrondissement. I would say about 450 participants from military, think tanks, businesses and journalists attended this event. Topics like stakes that matter, capabilities, threats, the technological shift, cooperation between the allies, knowledge transfer and the role of AI were tackled. Some numbers in this context: 2023, last year, in total, a military spending of $58.3 billion were spent on space defense and security. What is, to just put it into context, just 2.6% of the global military spending. Today we see, it goes by the day, so to say, but let's say today we see 10,600 satellites in space, active satellites in space. In the next decade, it will be 36,900, but just 9% of them are defense satellites. That means today 560, but about 3,500 in the 10 years to come. This year alone, we have seen, or we will see, 250 defense satellites launched. The Deputy CEO of the UK Space Agency, Chris Whitehorn, ex-military, brought one key observation to the point. He said, space everything is dual use, otherwise different classified. This is a reality on our side and on the potential enemy side as well, what they have to face or what we have to face, because also these satellites include satellites from the non-friendly nations. It's also interesting to hear the perspective of nations that you usually not see on all these panels, such as Peru. They said before they launched their own first satellite, EOS, Earth Observation Satellite, they bought about 12 satellite pictures per year. Now they generate about 500,000 per year. That also enables a local industry in terms of analytics behind that, and of course learning and excitement. So that's in very short summary what happened at that event. We will unmantle it potentially with more interviews over time. So what's going on, Emma, here on the summit of Earth Observation Business, or as they call it, ZEOB?
So the last 2 days are more on Earth observation, and before I carry on, something important about the numbers you gave.
Yeah.
So the number we can provide you are the disclosed numbers. So this is what is given to us, but there is an entire budget from the defense immunity that is just not disclosed, and this is known. Like it's disclosed that is not disclosed. So somehow, like, take those numbers as what we have, what is communicated to the press. The budget that is undisclosed is.
These numbers, to be honest, were presented by Novaspace on stage based on their research, but we had debates with our journalist colleagues that these budgets, especially on the US side, might be much higher, but as you said, not disclosed.
Exactly. So back to Earth observation. The last 2 days are based on the commercial sector, understanding where Earth observation in terms of revenues is going. The stage again was opened by Novaspace analyst, by Anne-Kathleen Debin. Similarly to the first day, she gave an overview of the sector, of a projection of where it's going in the next decade. So by 2032, Novaspace projects a growth to 9.2 billion. So the numbers are quite staggering if you remember the number I gave you before for the SATCOM sector, with the majority of the revenue coming from services. So we see a shift, a predicted shift from manufacturing to services. This is something that the Earth observation market is well aware of, the need to move from simple data provider to service providers. Something that emerged, and I think Anthony Baker from SatVu pointed it out, is something that's been discussed in the sector over and over again. They need to provide the end users with a plug-and-play system. They don't want to learn our platform, they don't want to learn how to interpret imagery, they don't want to be space engineers. They want a final product that allows them to interpret and obtain what they want. So there is still some work to do, and definitely I suppose success will be in the hands of those companies that are able to provide a full intelligence services that is easy to use and doesn't require a 10 years engineering degree to understand it. So this was I think the interesting part of the Earth observation. It's still going on. Today is going to be a last session about agriculture, so I will probably try to report about it later. So
absolutely.
Stay tuned.
So, is that, from your point of view, is that event worth to go? I mean, beside all this wonderful environment that we are in and the Paris vibe?
So every year I'm extremely tired when I arrive at the end because it's extremely intense, but every year I say I will come back. So I definitely think it's worth it. Probably one of my highlights was the presence of Peter Beck, who is the Rocket Lab CEO. Is one of my favorite character in the sector, and is one of the few places where I have been able to meet, if not the only one. So this is kind of like the idea that here in Paris there are the best and the most important and interesting players in the entire global sector, and it's one of those unique occasions where you actually can meet them. So definitely worthwhile for both those that belong to the higher end or to the consolidated part of the sector, and those that are just beginning and they want to understand how the game is played.
There's one thing I want to highlight to our listeners we have to say it, in our bubble. On Monday, Emma asked a number of people on the street here or on the Place de Verdun about space. What is a satellite? Easy question. People on the street, and watch their answers, and it gives you a reality check where our industry is. And with that, thank you for your interest. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletters, and we see you next week. With that, SpaceWatch out here from Paris, or as they say, au revoir.
Thank you very much. See you later.